Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Buffalo Sports Center. I am Don, and today we are going to talk about and recap the entire Sabres 2025 draft class. Before I get to all of that, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, join the Discord. All of those links are down in the description box below. But let's just jump right into it and talk about the Sabres' first round draft pick from this most recent draft class. And that was big right shot defenseman, 6'6", Radim Mrtka. Yes, huge. We had talked about him in the previous weeks. He was a potential fit here in Buffalo. There were some rumblings around some of the Sabres beat writers that the Sabres were very interested in Mrtka, and they ended up picking him. Now, ESPN and Megan Chaika weren't too happy about that. She talked about how the Sabres had a big time reach, and the NHL universe as a whole has really been crapping on the Sabres for this selection. However, I don't think it's as bad as people think because if all things go according to plan, Murtka could end up as a top four defenseman here in Buffalo. His NHL player comp is old friend Tyler Myers. And while Tyler Myers didn't necessarily work out here in Buffalo, Murtka could. He doesn't have the same offensive capabilities of Tyler Myers, but he does have a very good two-way game. He's not an aggressive, very physical defenseman, which is kind of disappointing considering his huge frame and size. But he plays the game really well, clears guys out in front of the net, and he was the second best defenseman here in this draft. I'm not surprised the Sabres took him, especially considering the organizational hole that there is on the right shot of their defensive core. And well, if all things go according to plan, we should see Murtka here in Buffalo in 4 to 5 years, as with any player, unless your name is Zach Benson or Jack Quinn or JJ Paterka. Chances are you're not going to be here for a few years. Now, this Murtka pick, he's definitely a developmental prospect, which is why I say I have such a long time frame before we should expect to see him in the big show. But don't worry, folks. He should be here. He should be in Buffalo so that the Sabres can then trade him away after 2 seasons. And then he can really flourish in the NHL. Now let's talk about the Sabres' second round pick, which they actually didn't end up making because Kevin Adams traded it right as, they were on the clock. The Sabres traded pick number 39. That was supposed to be in the second round of this draft. They traded pick 39 plus defenseman Connor Clifton to the Pittsburgh Penguins in exchange for defenseman Connor Timmins plus defensive prospect Isaac Bellevue. For Connor Timmins, he's expected to slot right in on the right side of the Sabres' third defensive pairing, probably next to a concoction of Matthias Samuelsson slash Jacob Bernard Docker, maybe even Jacob Bryson. Again, I don't know why Jacob Bryson is still in this organization, but here we are in the good old 2025. Uh, Connor Timmins, I think, is an upgrade over Connor Clifton. He's costing less, provides more offense, very good on the penalty kill. So all of these things should bode well here for Kevin Adams. Finally, he made a good trade. Let's cruise right along now to the third round, pick 71. The Sabres took David Bedkowski. Now, if you're looking for a defenseman that's big, nasty, will throw the body around, huge hits in the junior, well, you got your guy in Bedkowski. If you look up his highlight reel tape on YouTube, you should probably find just 5 minutes of him laying out poor little kids on the ice. He is not a very fun guy to play against. And for a team like Buffalo, who has so much stress this offseason that they want to be tougher to play against, that they want to be nastier, they think being tougher to play against is better than skill, especially after watching the NHL playoffs from this past spring. Well, Benkowski certainly makes sense then if you're trying to fill that need. And it definitely is a need, don't get me wrong. But as you go through this draft, you'll notice that I say a lot of either one of the following. This guy's a long shot to make the NHL, or they're tough to play against, or maybe even they're a defenseman, because the Sabres definitely went after these guys. Not that they want guys who are long shots to make the NHL, there's just a finite amount of space at the big club. But yeah, for Bedkowski, he's definitely tough to play against. He's one of the toughest players in this draft, probably, definitely. Someone said it. I can't remember exactly who on the Sportsnet feed, but that's what this kid is described as. One of the toughest defensemen you'll ever play against. So that's a fantastic pickup for Buffalo. Let's move on to round four, pick 103. The Sabres selected Czechian slash Italian Mateus Kucharczyk. He's a center, another big player, 6'4", not very physical though. but he did hold himself up quite well in the Czechian Pro League, and he's only 18, so that was pretty remarkable. Another player who did something similar to that was Yuri Kulik. He played as a young kid, not only in the Czechian in the World Championships for Czechia, but he also played in Czechian's Pro League as a very young teenager. And the fact that Kucharsik is also doing well in that league, hey, maybe that translates to the NHL. If Yuri Kulik can make the jump, maybe Kucharsik could as well. Let's keep on moving, folks. Pick 116, Samuel Milosh, goalie. The Sabres took another goalie, even though they already have Topias Lanonen, Devin Levi, UPL, Scott Ratzlaff. They have all these other guys, but they still took Milosh, and this is not the only goalie the Sabres took here in this draft. He played in the Quebecan Junior League last year. This was considered a slight reach by the Sabres, according to the analytics world, but who gives a crap? It's the fourth round. Not that you just want to throw all of these picks away, but the chances of these guys actually making the NHL, they're not huge. As for Milosh on a personal, on his game, his tape, he can be a little erratic in his net. He doesn't always anticipate the game well. Oh, geez, I wonder who else does that. UPL. That's the answer. But he did make a lot of highlight saves last season for his team, the Roya Naranda Huskies. Don't think I pronounced that right, but we're just gonna keep moving right along as if it didn't happen. Let's talk now about our Sabres' fifth round pick. They selected with pick number 135 Noah LeBerg. He's a defenseman, another defenseman. He's another mobile two-way guy. Played for the Acadie Bathurst Titans in the Quebecan Junior League again. Geez, it seems like the Sabres, with their five scouts, they all sent them to either Czechia or Quebec this past year. But they took another Quebecian defenseman. He put up 35 points in 63 games for his Quebecian team, and he could be at best a solid middle pairing defenseman here in the NHL. Veering now to round six, pick 167, the Sabres selected Aston Scholes, center. He played with the Chicago Steel in the USHL last season. He had 39 points there. He's a smaller center. His ceiling in the NHL is as a third line center, which it seems like the Sabres already have a lot of those kind of players right now. But he will be playing for the University of North Dakota next season, so that should be fun for him. Now the Sabres, to bottom out this 2025 draft class, and I shouldn't say bottom out, to finish out this 2025 draft class, the Sabres had three seventh round picks, and we're just going to breeze right through them because, to be honest, and no offense to these guys, they're all great hockey players. They're better than I ever could be. But the odds of a seventh round pick making the NHL, very slim. We've only seen a few, most recently Victor Olofsson, but other than him, not many have been able to make such an astronomical jump. But we'll start off with Melvin Novotny. He's a Swedish forward. He put up 38 points in 41 games with Leksand IF, their U20 team over in Sweden last year. He'll join the Muskegon Lumberjacks in the USHL for this upcoming year. And according to the Athletic, he has very high IQ, for very high hockey IQ, I should add, to point that out. At pick 199, the Sabres selected Evgeny Prokhorov, another goalie, this Russian netminder. Again, big time long shot to make the NHL. He hasn't transitioned to North American hockey yet. More of a flyer, just a random, let's see how this turns out from the Sabres brass. And to round out and finish off this 2025 NHL draft here for the Sabres, they selected center Ryan Rosinski. He played with the Youngstown Phantoms last year in the USHL. He will be playing for Ohio State in the NCAA next year. But, folks, that's it for this draft recap. And I will say, I know I said a lot of these guys are long shots, and the overall vibes, the summary from this draft, from all the analytic world, the real draft junkies that watch a lot more tape than I ever could, they say that in the past, the Sabres have been going a lot in on skill, oftentimes with young, smaller forwards. This year, it was definitely grittier, nastier, bigger defensemen, bigger guys who, if they do make the NHL, will make the Sabres harder to play against. That is really the big theme from this entire draft. And that's definitely what Lindy Ruff has been pushing for, right? There was a story about Mike Harrington talking about this, about how Lindy Ruff has really taken over in conjunction with Kevin Adams. Not saying that Adams has lost his job, but that Lindy Ruff has a prominent opinion in that Sabres front office He wants guys in a certain light. He's always been that kind of way. He wants a certain type of player, hard to play against, very physical, and the Sabres definitely went after those that kind of draft profile here in this draft. But folks, I am Don. This is Buffalo Sports Center. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And I hope to see all of you in a video very, very soon. Bye bye.